Sustainable packaging is now a procurement compliance issue. For a while, sustainable packaging was something a company chose because it looked good. A compostable cup here, recycled paperboard there, a press release to go with it. That window is closing. Regulatory pressure and major buyer mandates are pushing sustainable food service packaging from a voluntary upgrade into a sourcing requirement. For procurement teams managing food service operations or supplier contracts, the shift is already underway, and the timeline is tighter than most sourcing calendars have accounted for. The market is large and growing fast. The global sustainable food service packaging market was valued at $66.3 billion in 2025, according to a March 2026 industry analysis from Insightified, and is projected to reach $110.1 billion by 2035 at a compound annual growth rate of 5.2%. According to the research, North America leads globally, partly because state-level single-use plastic bans and extended producer responsibility regulations have moved faster here than in most regions. That growth isn't being driven by preference alone. The EU Single-Use Plastic Directive and an expanding set of U.S. state-level packaging restrictions are requiring food service operators to replace conventional plastic packaging with recyclable, compostable, or reusable alternatives. Companies that haven't started that transition are now behind it. Buyer mandates are forcing supplier decisions. The more immediate pressure for many procurement teams isn't regulatory, it's coming from large buyers setting their own timelines. McDonald's has committed to sourcing 100% of its guest packaging from renewable, recycled, or certified sources by the end of 2026. That kind of commitment from a buyer at that scale doesn't stay contained to one company's supply chain. It ripples outward to contract packaging suppliers, regional distributors, and the broader network of operators who take their cues from where large buyers are going. For suppliers not already working with certified recyclable or compostable materials, that timeline is short. Sourcing certified materials, qualifying new suppliers, and updating packaging lines all take longer than a single procurement cycle. Cost and sourcing are the practical pressure points. Making the switch isn't straightforward. Compostable and recyclable alternatives carry higher production costs than conventional plastic packaging, and certified material supply remains constrained in some categories. Hutamaki's 2025 reporting flagged supply chain issues with sourcing PLA and recycled paperboard for U.S. food service packaging as an active barrier to adoption, particularly for smaller operators and regional chains. That constraint matters for procurement teams negotiating volume contracts. Certified material availability is uneven across geographies, and lead times for compliant alternatives are longer in markets where infrastructure for recycled inputs is still developing. Rigid packaging continues to dominate the market, accounting for roughly 59% of global share, driven by operational requirements around durability, leak resistance, and stacking for delivery. The transition challenge in that segment centers on qualifying molded fiber and PLA-based alternatives that meet the same functional standards as the plastics they replace. What procurement teams are tracking? The companies managing this transition most effectively are the ones that started supplier qualification early and built compliance requirements into contract language rather than retrofitting them later. With regulatory timelines tightening and major buyer mandates becoming standard terms, sustainable packaging is increasingly less of a sourcing preference and more of a baseline requirement. You've been listening to Sustainability Soundbites by Environment and Energy Leader. For partnership opportunities, please reach out to our team.